Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by our good friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. The best text message I got yesterday, was from my buddy Bennett, who is a lifelong Sixers fan, diehard Sixers fan, season ticket holder. And at the end of the day, when all the smoke had settled from the Woj bombs and all that stuff, he said to me, "Hey, so wait, were we buyers or were we sellers at the Sixers deadline yesterday?" And I was still trying to figure it out at like 9 o'clock last night. I'm like, and I have been thinking about that all day. Were they buyers or were they sellers? And here's what I've come to. If they have Joel Embiid back and they add Kyle Lowry in the mix of all this, then they're a better basketball team than they were before the deadline. So they're buyers? That's honestly how I feel. I feel like it's so close. I like bringing in Buddy Hield. I like bringing in Payne. I love all of it. I love all of it. I don't understand moving Jaden Springer to the Celtics. I don't get that. I have a very odd feeling about this deadline, but the deadline overall, we'll go through everything. And as I always say, we'll follow the bouncing ball for what it all means. I'm going to skip right to the end. The Sixers feel right now that Joel Embiid is going to come back from his injury and play this year. They're not making the moves they made yesterday. And look, I am not saying anything along the lines of Buddy Hield and Cameron Payne coming to Philadelphia. That means that this team is really making a push to win a championship. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you're not making these moves of acquisition in order to lose. You're not trying to tank. You're not trying to pack it in. You're not telling everyone that you're not going to be able to compete for the conference finals if Joel Embiid comes back. What you're saying is you're in it to win it. You're not in it to win the championship, but you're in it to win. In the regular season, when Joel Embiid comes back, try to make somewhat of a playoff push. That's what these moves tell me. They think that Joel Embiid's going to come back, and with Buddy Hield and Cameron Payne, they're going to have enough, and Kyle Lowry soon, they're going to have enough to at least get into the playoffs at a good spot and try to win with Joel Embiid. That's what they're telling you. This isn't what I wanted. I wanted them to pack it in and say, let's not rush Joel Embiid back. Let's not take any risks in doing that. I think that they probably, obviously, have a little bit more information than most people on the situation and know that they can, okay, we can add in order to win now. Not a championship necessarily, but perhaps they re-sign Buddy Hield. Tobias Harris likely gone after this season now. I was expecting them maybe to move on from Tobias. I at least wanted them to move on from Tobias. If anybody was knocking on their door, didn't see any reports to say that leading up to the actual deadline at 3 p.m. yesterday, Eastern time. But they bought. Barely, but they bought. We'll go through the trades and all that, but what they told you yesterday was that Joel Embiid's going to come back this year. He's going to play, and they expect to make a push. These guys that were brought in now are to help hold down the fort so that when he does come back, you'll be at least in a decent enough position to create yourself a playoff spot and not necessarily just a play-in game spot like I had talked about yesterday. So that's what they told you. They also told you that Tobias Harris is done after this year. That ain't happening. I don't think they're making this deal for Buddy Hield. And let's just start the bouncing ball, shall we? I'm on a conference call yesterday. We have all new episodes of Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now coming up. They'll be shot pretty soon, so look forward to that with me, Greg Murphy, Wes Hall out of D.C., Washington, D.C. Mountain Sports, I believe, owns them now. It used to be NBC Sports Washington. Now I think it's Mountain Sports. But anyway, this is the one that came across first. Buddy Hield, finally a member of the 76ers. Indiana Pacers trading Buddy Hield to the Sixers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. What? All right, well, they bring in the three-point shooting that they've been longing for from Buddy Hield for all these years. All right, that's an interesting one. Then we read about Daniel House being shipped out. And this was interesting from Adrian Wojnarowski. Sixers are trading Daniel House and a 2024 second-round pick, so another second-round pick being moved out. This one owned by the Knicks, goes to the Pistons, and this is what opens up the door for Kyle Lowry. You create some cap cushion, as Woj refers to it, and you have an opportunity to bring in Kyle Lowry. I am all for it. You needed guard play. You bring in Payne. You bring in the Kyle Lowry in a minute. I am all for it. You bring in a shooter like Buddy Hield. I am all for it. These are all, in my opinion, good moves. But my big question here is Patrick Beverley gets moved to the Milwaukee Bucks. Interesting. Bucks are sending a 2027 second-round pick back to Philadelphia in the deal. And as Sham tells us, Payne is involved in the deal as well. Milwaukee is acquiring Patrick Beverley for that second-round pick from the Sixers and Payne as well. I like all these moves. I like the players that they brought in. Buddy Hield has been the apple of a lot of people's eye for a long time. These are all good acquisitions. Marcus Morris is gone, though. PJ Tucker has been gone, and now Patrick Beverley's gone as well. I guess Kyle Lowry's got to come in and be that dog. Who's going to be that guy when you really need him at push come to shove to try to get a little bit more out of these guys like we saw from PJ Tucker and Joel Embiid in the playoffs last year? I feel like you need that guy. You need that dog. And this Sixers team especially needs that dog. Now there's no dog. Who's the dog? Is the dog Kyle Lowry? Is he going to bring in that Cardinal Dougherty type of pride? Is he going to bring in that Cardinal Dougherty type of fight from the Cardinals there? I don't know, but that seems to be the direction that the Sixers are going to go after Kyle Lowry, and he's going to be the guy that when push comes to shove, he'll be the pest. He'll be the guy to rally the troops. He'll be the guy with the inspiration with the way he plays on the court, which is great, fine. But as of right now, that hasn't happened yet. I still don't understand some of the aspects of this. The 3 second-round picks, I mean, we always talk about those as sweeteners. That's a lot of sweeteners to throw into it there. They get one back there from the Milwaukee Bucks. So all in all, I don't have a problem in a big way for what the 76ers sent out yesterday in the trades. I love what they brought back. Not in a way that makes me think they're going to be put over the top for a championship, but at least in a way that's going to make it interesting down the stretch here. And if you can re-sign Buddy Hield, who's an unrestricted free agent after this season, then I think it's well worth it, especially if that means Tobias Harris's run here in Philadelphia is done. So all in all, I give them a passing grade yesterday and a pass-fail business. I think they passed. I wasn't expecting, nor did I want them to make any huge acquisitions at the NBA trade deadline, and that's the direction they decided to go. Make good acquisitions. Not great. Not franchise-altering. Not franchise-changing. But if you're questioning as to whether or not, like I was last night, whether or not the Sixers are buyers or sellers, they're I think they're in the buyer category, and I'm going to add one. I'm going to add a category. The 76ers are preppers. They're doomsday preppers. That's what they are. They are prepping for Joel Embiid to come back. So that's the optimistic. So that's not the doomsday part of it. They're optimistic about him coming back so that they have prepped for that moment. And they're prepping themselves for Kyle Lowry. That's what yesterday was. Also, after Furkan Korkmaz was traded, I think Derek Bodner described it as the most polite trade request ever, considering it took 4 years for it to actually happen. Furkan Korkmaz was finally traded to the Pacers, and then the Pacers waived him. They said, thanks for stopping by, Furky Jerky from Turkey. And they waived him, and they said bye-bye. The move yesterday that I did not like so much was this one. Woj putting it out there that the 76ers have traded Jaden Springer, 21-year-old guard, former 28th overall pick from 2021, have traded him, bringing back another second-round pick back to Philadelphia, trading him to the Boston Celtics. There's no way it doesn't become annoying, right? There's no way this doesn't haunt us. There's no way that in a year or two, Jaden Springer is picking the pocket of Tyrese Maxey. Like, there's no, like, in the fourth quarter with a minute left, Sixers struggling to come back. They finally mount a little bit of a comeback. They get to within a point, pivotal possession, and Jaden Springer picks the pocket of Tyrese Maxey at the top of the key, takes it the other way for an easy lay and a foul. All momentum's changed. That's the doomsday part of it. There's no way that's not going to come back and bite us in the ass. There's no way. When I saw it, I went, that somehow that is going to burn us. And I know I'm not the only one that had that thought because everybody had the same doomsday scenario. Not exactly as I just laid it out, where I went so far in the deepest, darkest recesses of my brain to go, this is how it's going to happen. Close game, down the stretch, Maxey brings it up, Jaden Springer picks his pocket, gets the end one on the other end of the court. Because that's how it happens. That's how it happens. That's how it happened with Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum going there. And don't spare me on the Tatum was never available. The one comes before 2 and 3. So, yeah, he was available. They don't make that trade unless they're... Yeah, because Brian Colangelo is an honorable man. He was going to keep his word with Danny Ainge. Anyway, whatever. Don't want to go too far the deep, dark recesses of my brain. But everything else is great. Everything else is great. Everything else is to win now, except for when Jaden Springer costs you a W in the playoffs. It all has to be is one game. All it has to be is one game. One play, briefly. And all of a sudden, it comes back to really get us. It could be this year. It could be this year. If you're looking for Paulie pom-poms, if you're looking for optimism, if you're looking for a reason to be happy about the rest of the season, then when you break it down with your 10-9-8 76ers, ladies and gentlemen, you have the shooter that you've coveted for a long time in Buddy Hield. You have Cameron Payne, I just really enjoyed watching him play, especially with the Suns. A little bit of a do-everything type of player. A lot of defense goes out for a team that has been one of the best defensive teams in the NBA with Joel Embiid healthy. A lot of defense goes out with Marcus Morris and Patrick Beverley and Jaden Springer. Of course, you love that spark coming off the bench, especially from the defensive side of things. And we had Jameer Nelson on the show earlier in the year where he talked about Jaden Springer and how his defense was already at an elite level, and he's really obviously working on his offensive game, and most of us know that, but that's the way the Sixers looked at him. And I find that to be very interesting coming from a guy who's now in charge of developing these guys at the G League level, and Jaden Springer had certainly done that through last year and for a minute here this year. So I don't like the fact that a player like that still has potential is going away, especially to a team like the Boston Celtics, unfortunately. But back to the optimistic side of things here. With your 76ers, in a little less than a month, Joel Embiid is going to be reevaluated. So that puts you around March 5th. You would assume that he's able to get looked at. That leaves you the rest of March, so another month, and then about a half month. So about a month and a half, you're going to know what you have in Joel Embiid. Whether or not, everything's fine. The flap healed beautifully, which has always been the case with Joel Embiid. There's never a problem. You're then going to have about 2 weeks for Joel Embiid to play himself back into shape. Roughly 2 weeks. Because you figure they're going to reevaluate him. It's going to be a week or two of rehab. And then slowly ramping him up to the ability to play. This is my prediction. This is not my desire. My desire is that yesterday the Sixers just sold. That was my desire yesterday. Tobias Harris, gone. Marcus Morris, gone. Furkan Korkmaz, gone. That was great. They got back a lot. They didn't get back picks. They got back Buddy Hield in that deal. But that was my desire yesterday, just for them to sell. Don't worry about acquisition. Just sell. Pack it in. Run it back next year. Let Tyrese Maxey out there. Throw him in the water. See how he swims. Hopefully the ankle heals up. He gets a break. He feels better. He had the illness there against the Warriors, but he played anyway. Pack it in and just sell, baby. Sell. And they did some selling yesterday, but they also they acquired and they got pieces to help you win now. And when you do that, that means you're in buyer's mode. But looking at Joel Embiid and the timeline that could come out here, March 5th, then he has rehab for a couple weeks. Then maybe he comes back and maybe has around 2 weeks to play himself back into basketball shape at most. That right now after the deadline, that appears to be the direction the 76ers want to go. Oh, and also acquire Kyle Lowry in the mix. That's where we're at. You guys tell me if you guys think the Sixers are buyers, if you think they're sellers, if you think they're preppers, if you think, bottom line, it doesn't matter what they are at this point. If it doesn't matter. That's where I'm at right now when it comes to your 76ers. So let me know in the comments if you guys are going buyers, sellers, or whatever the case may be. It is Super Bowl week, ladies and gentlemen. And I think about this week that just passed. I always think about Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson and Alshon Jeffrey. Because Alshon Jeffrey, if you remember, during this week was asked about, hey, what do you think about, brushing elbows with celebrities or whatever? And Alshon Jeffrey was like, yeah, whatever. I'm here to play a game. All this is stupid. We could have stayed in Philly. Meanwhile, you would think that the NFL is like, no, we want all the promotion we can, and everyone talking about it. There's no game, and people talk about us for a week. This is amazing. People talking about Travis Kelce. People talking about stupid games that are played, and I was once part of those games at the opening night for the Super Bowl, right? But Doug Peterson is someone else I think about, because if you remember, him and Bill Belichick shook hands at midfield during player warm-ups ahead of Super Bowl 52. And Doug Peterson had a great line. Bill Belichick, been through it many times, says to Doug Peterson, hey, how'd your week go? And Doug had the best response. If you remember what Doug said, there's a game in here somewhere, right? He said, that's what I kept thinking. Through all these interviews, all these promotional things, all the whatever, there's a game in here somewhere, right? Like, we play a game at the end of this. We're still playing. It's still football season. Like, we're still in it. We fought our asses off all season long. Lost our starting quarterback, who's going to be the MVP of the league, or with a backup right now. And then all of a sudden, we're going to be playing a game, right? That's still happening. And I just remember thinking that has to be. I never thought about it. That has to be how it feels for a lot of these players who go through their routine all season long, go through injuries, go through fatigue, bumps and bruises along the way, and then all of a sudden there's this week layoff of everything but football. Like, even more so than a regular week where you have 6 days between games and you go through the interviews, the locker room sessions, maybe you got to shoot a commercial, you got to deal with stuff with your family, go through your routine of life aside from just playing the game. This is that times a billion because of all the other outside distractions that are there. Oh, and also, it's in Vegas. That can be a little distracting. So that's where, that's what I always think about when it comes to this week that leads up to the actual game, is what the players are going through and whether or not they can find that routine. We talked to Clay Harbor yesterday. He talked about international play and how you have to stay in that routine. You always have to think of it as a business trip, no matter what. It's the business trip. So they have to have that focus. For me, I'm making my prediction, and I'm going to tell you right now. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes, and I can't bet against the Kansas City Chiefs. When it comes to bias, yeah, there's bias. I really do try to remove it all, but I can't help but think of the idea that I just can't root or can't even think of a world where Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl. I am already at a point right now with the 49ers that with Deebo Samuel saying all he said and sticking his chest out afterwards, and he earned it. He earned it. If we were in their shoes, we would be the exact same way at this point. If we felt like we were robbed last year, if God forbid you were down to your fourth string quarterback playing in a playoff game, you would feel pretty robbed as well. I don't know if we would have went about it the exact same way that the 49ers did for an entire year, but they earned their victory lap. They earned their flowers, as the tired expression goes. But because of all that, I can't live in a world where I think they're going to win. I can't live in a world where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bet the 49ers and I'm rooting for the 49ers. Here's where I'm at. I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes coupled with one of the best defenses in the NFL. I can't bet against that. All the experience there with Andy Reid and having won the Super Bowl and having been to multiple Super Bowls, won multiple Super Bowls, having been to more, obviously. We all know the story with Andy Reid. But all of that, I can't look at that and just go, oh, no, they're gonna lose to the San Francisco 49ers. The Kansas City Chiefs all season long have been the team that's not supposed to be this good. They have been the team that is, they're going to have a good regular season, but once the playoffs start, that's when they're going to have some trouble. And the Eagles had a small hand in that as well because they had their Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City, and the Eagles won that matchup on Monday night. Yes, you had the big drop by Valdez-Scantling, but now you're not seeing those drops anymore with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you're seeing them control the game, and you're seeing their defense take over. With the way their defense has been playing, like think about this. In these playoffs, the Kansas City Chiefs defense has been incredible, especially in the second half of play. 10 points they've allowed in total through 3 games in the postseason, and they played 2 games on the road. That's incredible. That means that all you need as a quarterback, especially in the second half, is a game manager. They don't have a game manager. They have Patrick friggin' Mahomes. Okay, 10 points, 3 games. Throughout the regular season, Steve Spagnuolo, Spags, and his defense were blitzing with the 6th highest blitz rate in the entire NFL. And they were the 2nd most successful team. 2nd in sacks this season. Chris Jones, as we all know, is one hell of an anchor. Karlaftis knows how to get after the quarterback. Like all season long, you've been watching this and the way it's played out for the Kansas City Chiefs. And all they have needed is a game manager, a quarterback. But you know they have Patrick Mahomes. I was supposed to bet against that. The only thing that really makes me go, that's one hell of a defense in the Kansas City Chiefs, but they're going up against one hell of an offense, a versatile offense. The San Francisco 49ers come into this game as the 4th team in NFL history with a 4,000-yard passer and 4 different offensive players with 1,000 yards from scrimmage on the season. We talk about a versatile offense all the time in Philadelphia. We talk, you got to have that versatile offense. We have teams that can cook with multiple positions being able to beat you, multiple weapons to be able to beat you. Yeah, the 49ers got that. And one of those guys, obviously, is the guy that is going to be the most important player on the field for the 49ers on Sunday. And that's Christian McCaffrey. We all know with Patrick Mahomes, even against a good defense like the San Francisco 49ers have, even against a defense like that, you're going to have a guy on the field in Patrick Mahomes that can score quick. Score when he needs to, whatever you want to throw at it. We know how good he is. So if you're going to have a guy that can put up points like that, if he gets into that rhythm, if he is just beating your defense through and through, you're going to need somebody that can control the clock. And that guy is Christian McCaffrey. He can give you the big play in the passing or running game. And in the running game, he can obviously control that clock and control the pace of play and make sure that Patrick Mahomes is not on the field for a long period of time. And that, to me, if the 49ers are going to win this game, the MVP will be Christian McCaffrey, not Brock Purdy. And I know that's a sexy pick to some people because, Brock Purdy, quarterback, he's gonna make all they got to do is win. Quarterbacks are going to be the MVP. Well, if they're going to win, a guy that's always known as a game manager and Brock Purdy is going to have to rely pretty much on the guys that he goes to as he manages the game, as he delegates advancing the football. He's going to be delegating that above everybody else, most likely to Christian McCaffrey. As good a defense as you can have in the Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers have the versatile enough offense that are going to be able to overcome such a strong defense. But bottom line is, I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. And I can't bet against, believe it or not, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. The 49ers, with the Kansas City Chiefs, you can at least make the excuse for them while they had their struggles throughout the season, that they have been a good enough team throughout the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid era that when it really comes down to it, they're going to win in the postseason. They're going to find ways to win in the postseason. And they have certainly done that this year. They have certainly done that in this postseason run. They got to play on the road. There's no way they're going to win on the road. Yeah, they won on the road. And they beat a team in the Ravens. And I hate going here, but it's like the 4th or 5th point I'm making about the game. Common opponent, like the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens went on the road and spanked San Francisco. They put the 49ers over their knee and spanked them. Dominated them. Didn't even look like they belonged on the same field. Similar to the way the 49ers came into Philadelphia and spanked the Philadelphia Eagles. Now you have a team in the Ravens that were playing at home, playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Kansas City Chiefs controlled that game, and they won. Was it close? Absolutely. Zay Flowers doesn't make the mistake at the end of the game the way he made the mistake at the end of the game. Maybe we're talking about a different thing. But guess what? He did make the mistake, and they lost. Very simple. I look at that game in particular, with the way these teams played against the Ravens. By the way, Lamar Jackson, in case you missed it, second MVP award he won last night, so good for him. Lamar Jackson, on the road, took it to San Francisco. Kansas City went into Baltimore, and they controlled that game against the Baltimore Ravens and won. And now these teams are meeting in Vegas. You could judge a lot. You can learn a lot by the way these two teams played against the Baltimore Ravens, especially in the conditions and the setting. When you talk about in Baltimore, and you talk about Baltimore being on the road. That, to me, is a pivotal game in making a choice and making a decision about who's going to win this football game. And that's why I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and I see them winning this game 27-20. That's the way I see this game playing out. It's going to be an interesting one. Very much looking forward to it. And when it's all said and done, we'll move into this Eagles offseason. What I need to see from this Philadelphia Eagles team in the coming months is going to be something that I think a lot of people are very eager to see the same thing. I need to hear things. I mean, we're not going to say, this. We can talk about Howie Rose, we can talk about acquisitions, talk about the draft and all that. But when it comes to this team, I need certain things leaking out. I need interviews. I need players. I need coordinators to speak. We're not going to hear from Vic Fangio. We're not going to hear from Kellen Moore before OTAs, unfortunately. If you remember, a lot of us, myself included, very much waiting to hear from Sean Desai. And he didn't address the media until OTAs. And that's when he told us about this feeling and this vibe of being palpable. He wanted his defense to be palpable. He wanted to be able to feel it. He wanted to be able to show you that it could be like the city of Philadelphia. And the grittiness and the toughness and the blue-collar mentalities. He said all the right things. I'm like, all right, let's see it. Let's see it happen. But I need to know about the creativity I'm going to see from the offense. Vic Fangio, it's already out there. You know what you're getting from Vic Fangio. The man's been doing it for 20 years. If you haven't followed his career at all, if this is the first you're hearing of him, then there's a lot of research you got to do because there's a lot to catch up on when it comes to Vic Fangio. I've been looking for little morsels here and there from players that have played for him. Going back and watching Hard Knocks with Miami last year in season to see what the guys were saying about him. And I know everything in the world came out after the fact, about after he was gone, about after the decision was made. And I talked a lot about the story from Omar Kelly, how players at their exit interviews, a key question to them on the defensive side of the ball was, hey, what'd you think of your defense coordinator, Vic Fangio? I was like, dude, that guy's tough, man. Rubbed me the wrong way. No, thank you. And then you listen to the guys on the team in season, and they're like, yeah, this guy, you got to respect it. It's one of those things, if you got a boss that's a real ball breaker, but he gets results, it's like, all right, well, you got, or she gets results. You got to be all right, we got to give it to them. They know what they're doing. You got to give them the old tip of the cap. And that's the way they're looking at it right now when it comes to Vic Fangio. At least that's the way they were looking at it in Miami, leading up to him saying, I don't think this is for me anymore. I want to be closer to my family in Philadelphia. And that's the decision he made. That's what the Eagles were able to do. Still baffles my mind, like we talked with John Barcia, that this isn't an obvious collusion case. Like this is an obvious tampering case. But nonetheless, I think there's going to be a respect there. And once you get that respect, and once you learn to have that respect for him, and you learn and you understand that this guy has a defense that's run all over the league now, I think once you understand that you understand his scheme and philosophy as taught from the guy that created it, you will have that freedom, as guys on the Dolphins talked about. There's a lot of freedom that you have as a defensive player once you understand the real scheme and the real system. That, I think, is all stuff that we know now about Vic Fangio, especially looking at him even closer now that he's not just a consultant leading up to the Super Bowl, but he's actually a defensive coordinator. Kellen Moore, by far, has the more attractive job here in Philadelphia. You are walking into a beautiful scenario. Vic Fangio has a lot of holes to plug. You don't know what you have at linebacker. You don't know if Fletcher Cox is back. You don't know if Brandon Graham is back. On the offensive side of things, you don't know who your safeties are. Both of them, you don't know who they are at this point. Offensively speaking, as I made this point many times over, you look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Those are three nice weapons that I think a lot of offense. Oh, yeah, and that Jalen Hurts guy is a year removed. At the time, will be a full season, removed from an MVP caliber year. You want to take that over. Numbers-wise, you look at a top 10 offense and you go, all right, well, maybe I can get him back into the top 3. Maybe I can get him in the top 2. That's what Kellen Moore has at his disposal when you talk about those weapons, and that's the goal you have. Obviously, to win games is the number one thing, but if you look at it from an individual standpoint, Kellen Moore is looking at this offense like he needs them to be a lot more clutch. They need to be better in the red zone all year, not have that slow start, and then become a better red zone team. You have to help a guy like Jalen Hurts be able to go through his progressions faster, make the smarter play. We've talked to RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys about the time he had in Philadelphia, or excuse me, the time he had, Kellen Moore had in Dallas, about how he always wanted to stretch the field. He wanted to light up the scoreboard, run up the score, whatever the case may be. I feel like Jalen Hurts has already had enough of that coaching, and that led to a lot of mistakes being made this year, a lot more interceptions, forcing the ball. Dan Orlovsky broke it down on ESPN about how the Eagles are looking to force situations and force the ball into tight windows. That's great from time to time, but that can't be the overall philosophy, to take that big shot downfield every single time. Well, it has to be the methodical drive, the 15, 16, 17 play drive, where you gradually work the ball down the field and pick that defense apart and tire them out. So in the fourth quarter, you're going easy here. You're on cruise control by that fourth quarter because you have controlled the game, and you did not see that throughout this season. One of the things I think Kellen Moore is really going to help with is that throughout this year, and it's one of the stats that really bothers me about this Eagles season, 10-point wins. You had 2 of them this year. We all know that their point differential was absolute in the toilet this year. But when you look at a year ago, you were going into the Super Bowl having won at least 6 games by 10 points or more. That's a team controlling games. Your defense was obviously better. Your offense was cooking. You're going to have a better point differential. But overall, what point differential does is tell you whether or not you are controlling the majority of your games. And the Eagles this year certainly were not doing that. Kellen Moore and this offense are going to have that opportunity to be able to control those games. I'd love to see DeAndre Swift come back here in Philadelphia. I just don't see them spending money for a running back. This might be the year where they actually draft a running back. 2nd or 3rd round. Nothing crazy. They're not trading up. That's not happening. Nor do you have a Bijan Robinson, for instance, that you would want to go after in the early round. But yet here they are. They're going to be in need of a running back. DeAndre Swift's going to get paid somewhere else more than he's going to get paid here in Philadelphia. Maybe he signs a 1-year prove-it deal, but I don't know. Outside of franchise tags, I don't know what running back is doing that. Outside of big-time franchise tags. Saquon Barkley franchise tags. By the way, I saw somebody speculate that Saquon Barkley was going to go to the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason. I think it was pro Football Focus. I was like, would like to not see that happen. But anyway, when it comes to this offense, this is an offense that a lot of people want to step in and take over. Cliff Kingsbury obviously they were kicking the tires in that direction. Apparently, he wanted to bring in his own people. There's a rumor about Jeff Stoutland. He would have to be fired if you're going to bring in Cliff Kingsbury. Nope, not happening. I credit the Eagles for sticking by a guy that is a absolute gold standard of printing out offensive linemen at Stoutland University, Jeff Stoutland. So I admire that. That also might be along the lines of Jason Kelce coming back. If you're going to hold on to Jeff Stoutland, that's somebody that we all know Jason Kelce wants to play for. Every one of these offensive linemen wants to play for. So they're not moving on from Jeff Stoutland. If Jeff Stoutland can be a carryover from the Chip Kelly era, which a lot of people conveniently forget, if he could be a good carryover from that, he's going to make it through a couple of head coaches. If he can make it through Chip Kelly, he can make it through Doug Peterson. He can make it through, no question, Nick Sirianni. And he can certainly make it through offense coordinator Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson to Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury didn't want him, allegedly. Yeah, you're not going to win that battle. Which, by the way, fascinating that Kingsbury now goes to the Commanders. Not Chip Kelly, who was thought to be joined at the hip of Dan Quinn. Kingsbury goes in there. And Brian Johnson gets hired on the staff. By the way, I think, who was it? Was it Jeremy Fowler that put that out there yesterday? I think it was. that said that former Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson is taking a position with the Washington Commanders. And I went, wait a minute, hold on a second. I thought Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator. Like, just seeing the names and the title made me go, wait, what are they doing? Huh? Oh, a position on the offensive staff. Passing game coordinator? Senior offensive consultant? What are they doing with that? But anyway, Kellen Moore is coming into a pretty cozy environment here in Philadelphia when it comes to having weapons at your disposal. Vic Fangio, there's building to be done. There's a lot of unproven commodities. Offensively speaking, even if Jason Kelce retires, I think the Eagles' offensive line is going to be still pretty damn good. I don't think Jason Kelce is retiring. But even if he does, I think their offensive line is going to be pretty good. I don't think it'll be a huge concern going forward. The bigger question mark is whether or not what they have at running back other than Kenny Gainwell. That's the bigger question. Defensively speaking, you're waiting for guys to develop. You're waiting to see what other acquisitions you make. You're waiting to see how you help your edge rushers. You're waiting to see how you're going to deploy Hassan Reddick. All that. That's what you're going to be waiting to see on the defensive side of things. Offensively, you got the weapons right there. All they need is a little defibrillator shock, and then they go. And then you let them run around, and then you let them make plays. That's what I'm hoping to see from Kellen Moore, and that's what I'm hoping that we get in the coming months after the Super Bowl. More information about what type of scheme, what type of philosophy, who he wants to focus on, whether or not the Eagles are going to invest a draft pick in running back at least in the second or third round. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. That news, that information come out. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Draft end of April as per usual. New league year in March. And then we'll be off and running after Sunday. But if you missed it, 27-20, Kansas City Chiefs over the San Francisco 49ers. That's the prediction I'm making. Before we get into the chat check, let me tell you guys about the wonderful people at MyBookie. You want to get in on the betting? MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. You want to get in on the big game in Vegas? MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Take advantage of all they have to offer when it comes to betting on the world of sports. You want to bet on the big game. You want to bet on the NBA, the NHL. A little spring training action as well. MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. And make sure when you do, use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus. And MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Use promo code Farzy. How about the Game Time app? You want to go to the game? You need tickets to the game? Huh? Go to the Game Time app, gametime.co, and check out all they have to offer. When you do, use promo code Farzy, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase when you go to the Game Time app. So if you want to go to the big event, the big concert, the big comedy show, check out the Game Time app. And how about this? You can preview your seats before you buy them in the venue so you know exactly what you're buying. And if you find tickets on another site, another app for less money in the same section, in the same row, Game Time app is going to get you back at 110% of the difference. How about that? Not to mention, if you use promo code Farzy when you create an account at the Game Time app, you get $20 off your first purchase. And how about this? All-in pricing. So when you get to the end, you're about to check out, you know what you have to do? You don't have to do, you don't have to look at it and go, oh, $50 service. What? What's going on here? No, all in. So you know the deal before you buy. That's the Game Time app. How about Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out all Sky has to offer, and our friend Brett at SkyMotorcars.com. Oh, how about the wonderful people at PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you beautiful people are doing on this Super Bowl Friday. What the heck is going on? Oh, we have an advertiser? Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. Adam's Exploits, what's going on? Guess we'll see what Maxey is made of when Joel isn't there. He needs to be a solid number 2. Totally agree. And that's why after the Warriors game, a 12-point performance, I said the guy wasn't feeling well. He's still dealing with that ankle injury. I do not have an issue with his poor performance. I focus on the idea that he played. No Joel Embiid. You want to keep stacking wins. The team's been struggling. He's not going to bow out, so I give him that credit. And before you know it, the All-Star break is coming, as we know. So we got a bit of a minute, folks. We got a bit of a minute. No worries. When is it? Yeah, okay, February 14th. So Valentine's Day is their last day before the All-Star break. Then they're not back at it until February 22nd against the Knicks. Both home games. So there you go. Oh, nice little homestand coming back from the All-Star break. They got the Knicks, then they got the Cavs, and then they got the Milwaukee Bucks Sunday at 1 o'clock. So yeah, I'm looking for Maxey to keep on developing. Good, Sean Kilray, good morning. Morey sucks. Why does Morey suck other than the Jaden Springer? The Jaden Springer thing is bonkers to me. April, morning, April. What's going on? Love that first Simmons highlight in forever. Has nothing to do with his actual game. Did I miss something on Ben Simmons? Sean Gillespie, good morning. Wine Niners wine. Good morning, Farzi. How about those Flyers? How about the? Oh, I didn't even mention the Flyers. 4-1 last night. Was that the final score? I really should get in the habit of finishing watching hockey games when it's like a 3-goal lead late in the period. I should always keep watching just in case they score the empty netter, or if there is an empty netter. I believe it was a 4-1 game. I'll get to it in the chat or the morning rush. But anyway, all right, here we go. Sean Killer's got Convo, Patrick Beverly at 76ers GM 2 weeks ago per Pat Bev. Am I getting traded more? You? No, not you. Of course not. Pat Bev was traded to the Bucks today. That's great. Is that what he tweeted? I didn't see that if he tweeted. That's awesome. Hey, man, it's a business. It could change at any moment. I do that if that's the case. You? No, not you. If that was the unsolicited affirmation. Well, I guess it is solicited if you say, am I getting traded? I mean, what are you going to tell the player? Maybe. Or I don't know. What's the nice way to put that if you're Daryl Morey? Bev, I'm not looking to trade you, but, man, a lot of teams want you. It's good to be Patrick Beverly. Is that the way you put it? If you're a, what's the word? Emotionally intelligent general manager or president of basketball ops, because Elton Brand's technically the GM. Farzi failed the marshmallow test? What did I do? I don't even know the marshmallow test. What is the marshmallow test? I would Google it, but I'm afraid to. Damn, sounds like Morey is straight up liar. I like Pat Bev. You got to get him on Farzi for an interview. Players that have their own podcast usually don't like doing other interviews. And he's got his own thing. I like Patrick Beverly, too, for multiple reasons. Good backup guard, can shoot. He's a dog. Yeah, I like Patrick Beverly a lot. What's not to like? Patrick Beverly, God, he's going to talk mass amounts of poo. Yes, he is. King Pooty, what's going on? Shut Embiid down. It's a wrap for the season. I agree with you. But they're not. These moves are not moves that you make unless you think he's coming back. April, good morning. Says, hey, everyone's saying good morning. This is nice. All you guys are awesome. Sean goes, either see Nick Wright distressed or the Red Cowboys eat it. Win-win. I wouldn't know Nick Wright existed if it wasn't for just social media. People are like, Nick Wright said this. And I'm like, who? What? Trade deadline screams this season's over? I mean, I didn't expect him to win the championship before the trade deadline. I don't expect him to win the championship after the trade deadline. I do think they're a better team now. I'll say that. Well, wait. I'll wait till they get Kyle Lowry to make that more definitive. San Francisco Whiners are doing what they do: whine and whine and whine some more. When they lose, they will. They'll be whining about the refs in practice field. How about the president of the Players Association for the NFL saying that 92% of players want grass? And it was like, no surprise here, but 92% of players want grass. Okay. Meaning the field to be grass. Anyway. Hey, Kansas City has their best defensive team in the Patrick Mahomes era. I would concur. Spag never considered working for the Eagles again. Damn organization. Never even considered. Okay, yeah. Sean Gillespie, imagine how better the Chiefs would be if they kept Tyreek Hill and her. Oof. Oh, Hunt, excuse me. Yeah. Pretty bonkers. Hey, if the 49ers are going to have a chance of winning the Super Bowl, then their best player / MVP has to be Brock Purdy. See, like Purdy, I don't think Purdy's going to have a bad game. I think he's going to have a very Purdy game. He's going to have a very Purdy-esque game. The guy that has to be off the charts, in my opinion, is Christian McCaffrey. But hey, I see your point. I mean, yeah, I get it. But I think I don't think Brock Purdy's going to be the guy to rise above. I think that's going to be Christian McCaffrey. See the 49ers winning 31-24. Just want to see a good game, not a blowout, you know. I hear you, Sean. That's wild. Pat Bev being traded just deflated everything, and Springer too. Just WTF. Jason A., I feel that. Okay, I got you on that. I wanted Patrick Beverly to stay here. I liked that he was here. When PJ Tucker was here, I'm like, you can't have these two guys in the same room because I want to win more. No, I want to win more. No, I want to win more. Like, you can't have that. So PJ Tucker gets shipped out. PJ Tucker wanted to be traded, by the way. If you saw his response to not being traded, he wanted to be traded. But then Jaden Springer going to the Celtics, as I said, and pointed out in a very detailed description about how he's going to burn us. That's the thought that I have in the back of my mind. Did I say back of my mind? Forefront of my mind now. Thank you. Mihai Sanchez, what's going on? Good morning, all. Good morning to you. Good morning, 49. Go 49ers from a distance. I got better things to do than watch the Chiefs again. Have a great weekend, all. Mihai, look at you. Look at you. Hey, Springer had a very limited offensive game. I agree. Sixers desperately need shooters. I agree. I think Buddy Hield, Payne, and possibly the addition of Kyle Lowry, you're bringing in some help. Good morning from Buddy Christ. Good morning, Buddy Christ. Sean Cronin, get rid of Stoutland U. No thanks, Kingsbury. Am I saying this right? I think I have the right inflection now. Hold on. Get rid of Stoutland U? No thanks, Kingsbury. Whatever. Committee. Oh, running back by committee. Yeah, but they still need another running back. How many times are you going to keep going back to the well of Boston Scott? You know what I'm saying? Oh. All right, Sean. Draft him. Estime, all right. Johnson, all right. Thoughts on the Kobe statue from April? Kobe statue. They did it in honor of his 81-point game. I think it's cool. I think they added tattoos of the five championship tattoo. And then his daughter's name on his arm as well. I thought it's a good-looking statue. I feel for his widow, Vanessa. That's oof. I'm watching her. They're running clips of her addressing everyone at the unveiling, and it's just like, not that you want to move on, I guess. Not that you can move on. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a very limited amount of people that can identify, and from someone obviously who hasn't been in that situation, I just feel for them, because you're guaranteed to have to think about it. I won't be specific here, but I have a friend who lost someone very special, and it's like I want to reach out to them, but you don't know if they're having a good day, if they're in the middle of a great moment, and then you're bringing them back down. Like, it's a very delicate situation. It's that type of thing. So yeah, that's rough. Jason, these moves make me think Joel Embiid isn't coming back. Really? Speaking of grass, Chris Long on the pod anytime soon. I've reached out. I got nothing. 42-3. Go Big Reds. All right, whiners. Whiners, wine. No, okay, yeah, I think I got the inflection right then, Sean. Keep Stoutland you. There you go. Hey, peace. It's been 4 years. Doesn't seem real. Oh, with Kobe. Yeah, man. It does seem really weird. Yeah, I only had a chance to meet him once. And I'll never forget it. He was promoting a book at Overbrook. He went to Overbrook High School to promote a book. I think it was, yeah. And I was with NBC Sports Philly at the time. And they said, hey, can you go to Overbrook and cover this Kobe thing? And I said, oh, yeah. So I went, and I was the only sports person there. Everybody else was just from the news. Everyone else was covering it like it was a human interest piece, right? And I learned that news people handle things very different than sports people. And specifically, if you're in a media scrum with sports people, then everyone tries to get a question in at the same time, which, yes, I admit is bonkers, but that's the way it is. Press conferences, media scrums at lockers, everyone's just trying to talk over each other or find the downbeat in the conversation or the answer that the player's giving, and then you try to ask the next question. So that's the way it works. There's no rhyme or reason to it. That's just how it's done. In the very rare occasion, a microphone is passed around and everyone takes a turn at different times. But at the Kobe thing, forget who it was. I don't remember her name. But she asked like 4 questions in a row. And I was one of maybe 8 people standing there with microphones trying to get questions in. And I, from the sports background, am trying to get in with the next question. And she just keeps asking questions, firing away. And then some PR person finally goes, hey, one at a time, guys. And I looked at them and I said, okay, cool. Who's next? Because I was halfway done a question and then I get jumped. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And everybody else was just not saying a damn thing. So finally I get and I'm like, nobody cares right now about the book, people. They want to know about what Kobe Bryant thinks about Ben Simmons. And that was the only time I got to meet him and talk to him. And I talked to him briefly before the media session started. But then, man, it was a weird atmosphere. It's like, no, you guys just wait, hold on a second. You guys are polite and let each other talk. I'm not from that world. I'm from another world. But yeah, 4 years since Kobe, man. Absolutely bonkers. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful. As per usual, let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, get excited. Your Philadelphia Flyers took it to the Winnipeg Jets last night with a 4-1 victory. They got the Kraken tomorrow night. Travis Konecny had another goal, 24 on the season. Mofro with another goal as well. Samuel Urson in the club with 28 saves on the evening. Not too bad. Your 76ers are going to be back in action tonight. I believe it is. Where the hell did I put the schedule? There it is. Yeah, tonight against the Atlanta Hawks, 7 o'clock tip-off tonight. Then they got 2 games on the road. One is Saturday night, 7 o'clock in Washington, and then they go to Cleveland for a 7 o'clock tip-off Monday night. And then they got the All-Star break. So that's how that works, folks. That's how that works. Also, the Phillies spring training truck left for Clearwater, Florida yesterday. One of my favorite times of the year, just see people packing that up, taking it down. You know, there were 2,000 pounds of sunflower seeds. There were 178 bats taken. You know, whatever. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. You guys are wonderful as per usual. And also, one more time, Super Bowl prediction, 27-20, Kansas City Chiefs. over the San Francisco 49ers. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And I'll be back with you guys come Monday morning. See you then. Bye.